Once again, good afternoon and welcome everyone to the Organized Leader, Perceptions, Benefits, and Tools, a leadership hack webinar with Angela Kissel from the PEPS division. She's the education coordinator with PEPS, and along with that, she integrates ideas of passionate champion for empowerment, growth, and diversity into the LEAD program, which is a program that's offered by the Professional Engineering Procurement Services Department here at TxDOT. She actually began her career as a Patriot missile crew member in the U.S. Army, and she also holds a Bachelor of Science and a Master's of Applied Geography, degrees, and also environmental geography. As a student, and actually she is a student in the PhD program at Texas State University. I have the pleasure of working with her as a mentor. She's in pursuit of a degree in adult, professional, and community education. She's committed to the value of lives of others and continuing her own journey of personal and professional development and growth. And I'm so glad that she's going to be joining us this afternoon. And I actually will turn it over to Angela. Angela, welcome. And
awesome. Thanks.
Thank
you, Dean.
Share.
All right. I think I have control now, correct?
You do.
Okay. Outstanding.
And
Thank you.
Can also see you and hear you.
Do what?
I said, can also see you and hear you.
Thank you. Thanks for verifying. All right. Welcome, everyone. I'm so glad you're able to join us today on this very cold, brisk morning or afternoon now. Thanks for the introduction, Dean. So we're going to get started now. I want to let you all know that today what I'm really interested in doing is kind of facilitating a conversation about the perceptions, benefits, and tools regarding organization, but from a leadership perspective. So you may have talked about organization in the past. You might have different things that you do, different tools that you use, and different books that you read or whatever. So we're going to kind of talk about it a little bit differently today. And I do want to let you know that this is not strictly a webinar. So I've created some opportunities for you to engage. And I do encourage you to participate with whatever level you're comfortable with today. The information that's going to be shared in the discussions we're having today are really about building self-awareness and mindfulness when it comes to being organized, especially from a leadership perspective. And the reason I want to share that with you all today is because the conversation we're having today, I want you to come from a place of curiosity and understanding, but most definitely not from a place of judgment. So that is not what we're here to do today, is to judge anybody for disorganization or anything like that. This is just opening our mind up. Yeah, good heart. Love that. We're not judging today. Hopefully you find this a safe space to share with everybody else. So before we get deeper into the content of why we are here today, we are in a new year. Congratulations, we made it to 2025. And also, can you believe it? Next week, the first month of this year is going to be over already. I can't even believe that. All right, so to get us started here, I'm going to acclimate you to a couple things we're going to do. One of them is a poll. So I'm going to go ahead and launch a poll. Hopefully this works in here. Just for funsies, you should see a window pop up in the middle of your screen in a second. And we have a question. On average, what percentage of Americans make New Year's resolutions, goals, or intentions? Do you think that's about 30, 40, or 50%? You can also see the results in the chat, and this is anonymous, so no one's getting reported. All right, let's see what we've got here. Just going to give that a second to let everybody respond. All right, it looks like the minority here is about 30%. We got a little bit greater number with 40%, and most of us think it's about 50%. All right, so according to one survey, it's actually about 30%. So that first response is correct. What's really interesting about that statistics I found, is the organization that, yeah, exactly, that ran that poll, that actually broke it down into years. And so individuals who are 30 years and younger, they actually have a higher percentage of doing New Year's resolutions and goals. So those of us, including myself, that are between 30 and 50, we're kind of at that 30% mark. And then interestingly enough, I also found that individuals that are 50 and older, it drops. So I guess once we hit 50, we're like, yeah, we got this. We've survived. We don't have to do it anymore. I don't know, but I just thought that was kind of interesting. So thank you all for doing that. Greatly appreciate it. For those of you that make resolutions, goals, or intentions, is one of yours related to organization? If you could use the reaction and give me a thumbs up for those of you that one of the things you want to do in the New Year's organization. Okay, yeah, there are several of us that do that. Outstanding. Thank you for doing that. So the reason I'm starting this way, this conversation this way, talking about the new year, orient us to goals and resolutions, is because right now, especially in this first year or this first month of the new year, we're still fresh in that mindset of all these goals that we've made for the year. And for some of us, it being organization. I personally took some time over the winter to tweak my home office a little bit. And I know some people work on garages throughout the year and different things, did some purging of some clothes. So that always feels good. All right, let's go ahead and move on. So time to get a little bit deeper. Let's talk about perception. When we think about perception, it may not always be the reality, but it can often be our reality that we've created based on our understanding or interpretation of a situation. Let's look at an example. I'm sure you all have seen various interpretations of this particular graphic. And it's interesting because if you look at it from one side, we see a 9. If you look at it from the other side, we see a 6. Neither of those individuals is incorrect. It just depends on how you look at it. So that's what we're talking about. We're going to start this conversation with today, is really focusing on perception when it comes to organization as a leader. Now, you don't have to put anything in the chat. I mean, you can if you want to. That's encouraged. Just take a moment and look at this picture. So what perceptions might you have about the individual whose office or room this is? There's a lot going on here, a lot of stuff. So keeping that in mind, we may think this individual may be irresponsible or unreliable. We may think that they have poor time management skills. I'm watching the chat. I should not watch the chat while I'm doing this. We may think that there's some lack of productivity in that individual. We may also think that they're emotionally unstable or have high anxiety and they're unable to organize their space that way. We might also think that they have a lack of attention to detail. We may perceive them as unprofessional, and they may have a carefree attitude. These are all perceptions. Are they all realities? Not necessarily. We all know, or hopefully you all know, the individuals that, kind of have that messy mind or messy space sometimes are extremely creative people. So there are a lot of benefits to those individuals. But again, we're not here to judge today. The point is that these perceptions exist, and that's what we need to be mindful of as leaders. So if we are a leader who struggles with organization, what I want to talk about next is how that could affect your team performance. And so disorganization at the leadership level can lead to confusion. It can lead to inefficiency. It could lead to poor coordination within the team. And without any of that clear leadership, employees might struggle to prioritize their tasks or even align their efforts toward common goals. And in the end, what you're going to get is lower overall team performance. So let's look at that specifically. If we have some unorganization at the leadership level on our team, there could be a lack of clarity in the tasks and priorities that we have. What does that mean? Well, that might mean that we've got some overlap in areas, or that we've got gaps, so we're not actually tackling all the things that we need to be doing as a team. That's just one example. We could also have some miscommunication and maybe conflict over that. Well, I thought you were doing this. Well, I thought I was doing this. Wait, what about this other thing? So miscommunication and conflict can occur. And then overall, what we are looking at here is when we have these kind of issues that are related to disorganization on the team, it can definitely decrease the team productivity and certainly the morale. So the reality is those perceptions that we have, there are real impacts to disorganization. And those are the things that we need to be mindful of as leaders. All right. In contrast, leaders who are organized are generally viewed as more capable, reliable, and effective, which fosters a positive working environment and then boosts team morale. So here are some of the things that I want to share with you about benefits. So we have an increased trust and credibility with our team when we are organized. We talked about team efficiency and performance. It all comes together in that way. We have clear communication and direction, so everybody on the team knows what they're supposed to be doing, what their role is, to mitigate some of that conflict, which in turn can reduce stress and anxiety on the team. Everybody knows what they're supposed to be doing, and everybody's doing it. And that also helps us make better decision-making skills because we're all clear on what everybody's doing. All right, so we've listed 5 benefits here, and I want to go ahead and run another poll. So considering these benefits we've just talked about, take a couple minutes and think about which of these benefits is most important to you that you want to see in your immediate leadership. And I'm going to launch a poll. And so I just want you to think about that for a second and then answer when you're ready in the poll. Which one of these is most important to you from your immediate leadership? And again, if you want to watch the poll, you can see it either in front of you, probably on your window, or in the chat. All right, we've still got some people coming in, chiming in, so I'm going to wait just a couple more minutes. All right, it looks like we have an interesting spread here. We have some people that increased trust and credibility is important to them. The same amount, about 20%, is improved team efficiency and performance. A little less than that is reduced anxiety and stress. The least of all is enhanced decision-making skills. But interestingly enough, most of you have chosen, or the larger percentage rather, is clear communication and direction. So think about that moving forward when we talk about organization and what organization means to you. And when you see that in your leader, what does that help you feel? What does that help you think about your team? Okay, now that we've talked about some of the benefits of being an organized leader, let's talk about some of the tools that may help us be organized. So typically we're talking about physical or digital tools. I specifically, when I talk about physical tools, have in mind journals and planners. I personally use a physical to-do, I call it a to-do journal. So it's really a bullet journal. I've kept one for years. I use it every week of my life. It's how I end my week, it's how I start my week, the next week, and throughout the week, I'm checking in on what I need, what I've done, and what I need to do. So I've got a way that I organize my meetings and my priority tasks and things like that. I'm also a kind of touchy, person. I like to touch things, kinesthetic, and I'm very visual. So that really helps me stay grounded to the priorities that I have for the week. And I really like that. That's worked for me for several years, which is why I keep doing it. So I start my Monday getting everything oriented, and I end my week going, okay, well, how did we do, and what do I need to carry into the next week? So using the reactions and the thumbs up reaction specifically, how many of you use a physical journal or physical planner on a regular basis? Okay, wow. Yeah, there are a lot of us that do that. Okay, cool. I wasn't really sure about that. I know it kind of, we're ebbing and flowing between the analog and digital world. So cool. I just find that writing things down in general really it does help make it stick. So there is some science behind that too. All right, there are also many digital options, so let's talk about a few of those. All right, some of the digital options that we have for organization that are available to us within our Microsoft suite include Microsoft Planner, OneNote, and Outlook. And so I wanted to talk briefly about each one of these and how you may use it. And if you want to chime in the chat because you're using one of these and you think it's really great or you've run into a real challenge, you just want to share some insight with everybody, I encourage you to do that while I'm talking through these. All right, the first one is Planner. Planner is actually integrated into MS Teams, so it's an app that exists within your MS Teams chat and everything. But it's also a web-based platform, so you can view it from MS Teams or you can view it on the web. This is really a great tool. I like to use it for, it's good for projects. It's good for organizing things because you can create little buckets and you can create little checklists. And one of the features that I really like about Planner is that you can use it within a team. So you can invite a bunch of individuals to join your team, to join this planner, and you can assign those tasks to individuals. And within that, you can also assign due dates to those tasks. So because Planner is integrated into the Microsoft suite, when you assign a task to an individual and there's a due date associated with it, that person is going to get email reminders. I don't know about you, but that's really helpful to me is to get a reminder, oh yeah, you've got 1 week out from this thing you need to do. So that's one of the things that I really like about planners. You get some extra reminders about things coming due. It's also really good, like I said, from a collaborative standpoint, because everybody's going to be getting those notifications to keep everybody on task. Oh yeah, and Chris has put in here, love Planner with the team for project management. Absolutely, it's great for that. Great collaboration tool. Next, I want to talk a little bit about OneNote. I will tell you right now, I have seen some magnificent examples of using OneNote beyond ways that I can't even imagine using it. I kind of use it as I guess in a very rudimentary sense. I like to use it to take notes for different meetings and stuff. That's how I keep track of things and different stuff like that. So I don't use OneNote a whole bunch, but I do use it some. And one of the cool features in OneNote is if you really like those reminders, is you can create tasks from OneNote. So if you've got checklists in there, you can create reminders for yourself and you'll get email reminders about that, or the reminder from Outlook rather. And I find that very helpful as well. So there's a lot of tools that we have that can help remind us of the things we're supposed to do, because I'm sure, like many of you, we're juggling a lot of stuff. So I will take all the help I can get. And then finally, a little bit about Outlook is, if you didn't know, you can create specific tasks in Outlook. So when you're generating an appointment, a meeting, an email, one of the options that you have is to generate a task. And you can, kind of like with Planner, you can assign a start date, due date in there, and it'll show up in your reminder window. So I find that useful as well. And I use that for some of the recurring things that I do. So I'm an instructor, just an example of how I use that. And so we are not allowed to book rooms beyond 6 months at Stassi, some of the rooms that we want to use. And so one of the reminders I create for myself, it's a recurring reminder. And so it'll come up and I'll hit that 6 month mark on a training date, and then I know I can go book a room, where I don't have to worry about, am I going to miss that date? So that's one of the ways that I use the tasks. Task-o-meter. Oh, Trenton's got something here. I built a detailed to-do list in Excel, uploaded it to SharePoint. Task-o-meter. I really like that phrase. My supervisor and lead worker have a link and can see my current tasks at any time they want. Helps me stay organized. Awesome. That's great, Trenton. Thanks for sharing that. So these are just some of the tools that we have available to us. I'm going to go ahead and run another poll. And this one's going to ask you about which of these tools you use: Planner, OneNote, or Outlook. And then there's also an option for more than one. So you may be like me and you might use different tools for different purposes. So if you'll take a moment and complete that poll, we'll see what we're all doing with regard to these different digital tools we have. All right, looks like everybody that's responded. Okay, we got a couple more coming in. I'm gonna wait a few more seconds then. All right, awesome. Well, let's go ahead and talk about this. So this is interesting. We've got very few people using Planner, and kind of close behind that, or ahead of that is OneNote. So Planner seems to be the least popular tool. We have a lot of people using Outlook. That's really awesome to hear. And then many of us are using more than one tool. So great. Seems like we are using many of those tools. One of the things I will tell you is if you hear about a tool today and you are curious about it, talk to someone on your team that you know is using that and have them walk you through how they're using it. There's a lot of stuff, a lot of resources available. YouTube is also a great resource if you're looking to get more detail on any of these. We have LinkedIn Learning. LinkedIn Learning is a great way to get some videos on how to use different platforms. So shout out to the LinkedIn Learning team for providing that for us and your team. So it's also a good way to, I think, having a conversation about these tools is also a good way to have some team building with other people. And I'm kind of plugged back into many of us in this call today are leaders in one way or another. And that means that maybe you've had the opportunity to take a personality assessment. I mean, we have DISC available, Strength Finders, MBTI, different things like that available to this agency. And in those personality assessments, we learn the individuals on our team who are more organized. And I think it's just really helpful from a team building perspective, getting to know people on your team. If you say, yeah, somebody's really good at that. Hey, can you help me out with that? Definitely have had some of those conversations on our team. And it's really nice to kind of, for people to showcase what they know, and then everybody's learning that way. All right, I'm going to read some of the stuff we've got in the chat. Thank you guys for adding stuff here. Kenneth says, we use OneNote for projects, CSJ on all important information. He adds UCM and track the utilities within the project. And then also planners used for our projects for each year. We're able to track when the project is ready to let and utilities are clear. Outstanding. Really great to see others using Planner. I really like it. Works out great. All right, cool. So in the chat, what I would like you to do is add other digital tools that you may be using. So we've talked specifically about Planner, OneNote, and Outlook because those are available to us through our Microsoft suite. What are some other tools you've used? And it could be personal. For example, I've worked with a nonprofit in the past to schedule a fundraising event. And so we use Trello, Trello, and it looks very much like Planner. So you create these buckets and you can check things off in there and assign people and things like that. But that's what we used. And I've heard I've heard other people use Trello too. Do you guys have any others that you use? Jane says she's got Excel and a desk calendar. Cool. Oh, Jennifer uses Trello. Cool. As a teacher. Monday. Yep, that's a big one. Alarms and timers. Very good. Canva and Good Notes. I don't know about Good Notes. I love Canva though. That's one of my favorite things to play in. I don't know that I use it from an organizational standpoint, so that's really interesting. Got some Excel and Word, Google Calendar. Yes, Mandy, I am a huge fan of Google Calendar. So anytime I've got things to do with the family, everybody gets an email. So it's on their calendar. Love using that. Excel spreadsheet in SharePoint specifically. SharePoint's great for that. So other people can join in and collaborate. Got some Trello users in here. Cool. Cozy app. I haven't heard of that one, Mary. That's interesting. Motion. Ooh, Sabrina, interesting. Got Tick Tick. I haven't heard of that. Oh no, that's nice. Google Classroom. Yeah, if you have access to that, that's fun. Oh, I was gonna wait to see who put this in here. Leave it to an engineer who's a project manager. Krista, sorry, I'm calling you out. Yes, MS Project. Great, fantastic, absolutely wonderful piece of software. Hope you love Gantt charts. If you love Gantt charts, that's your thing right there. That's your ticket. Time Tree. Okay, I haven't heard of that one either. So yeah, everybody's. It seems like we're using a bunch of different stuff. So that's really great to hear. Again, like from the beginning, I did invite you all to be curious. So if you're seeing things that you haven't heard of before, guarantee you I'm gonna check back in this chat and be looking at some of these. So thank y'all for sharing that. That's awesome. All right. Now, what are some of the tips we have for building organizational habits? All right, let's go through each of these. The first thing we're going to talk about here. Oh, I didn't know that, Krista. Gonna have to talk more about that. Integration, always great. I'll refocus. Set clear priorities at the start of every day. It is really good to have a check-in with yourself of where do I stand today? What do I need to accomplish? And that kind of thing. I really like that because, again, I use my to-do planner, to-do journal, whatever I call it. Check in with the things that I've got outlined for the day. Okay, these things I need to do. I've got, 12 to 14 meetings a day. Just kidding. It's not that bad. But some days, if you got lots of meetings, oh man, I don't have a lot of work time, and you've got to kind of prioritize that. So I love to start each day just kind of checking in with myself. Well, what is my day going to look like? This is probably one of the biggest things I could tell you. If you said, Angela, what's the best tool to use? I'm going to say, I'm not going to answer that question because everything works differently for everybody. So I'm not going to tell you what tool to use. I'm going to encourage you to try things you haven't tried before, and maybe don't revisit the things that didn't work. But more importantly, do what works for you. What works for you is the thing you can do consistently. So above anything else, if you're doing it consistently, keep doing that. And that's ultimately what you're looking for, is consistency with your tools. There's a lot of routine stuff coming in here. So making sure that you have consistent routines for checking and updating your progress. So even though you might be using a tool like Planner or something like that, where you've got a lot of kind of helpful things in there, where you've got email reminders and different things like that, make a note to physically check things, make sure you've got all your dates correct and stuff like that. For those of you that are working on larger projects, it's always helpful, I have found especially, to break those tasks into smaller actionable steps. Can't tackle that whole project in a week, a day, 6 months, whatever. Make sure that you've got some kind of work breakdown structure, or a way that you've broken down those steps, and maybe tackle a few of those in your week or whatever. But make sure you break that down. Otherwise, that whole project just gets daunting. And then review your tasks and project weekly. I want to take a moment and talk about this one, and some other benefit that I have found with it. So I've told you that I have my little to-do journal. So I'm looking through it all week. I'm scratching things off, adding things as they come in. You know how it goes. But at the end of the week, I will tell you that when I get to look at everything I've done for the week, and maybe there's stuff that's left over, it's not a judgment. It's like, okay, well, I am orienting myself to what my expectations are of the next week. And I will tell you that consistently doing this really helps me not to think about work on the weekend. It's this really beautiful way to get some closure for the end of the week, and you can free your mind to enjoy your friends, your family, your activities, your pets, whatever you got going on over the weekend. So if you don't kind of have some kind of closure wrap up for the end of the week, I really encourage you to kind of try that and see how that works out for you. If you're one of those people that wakes up at 3 o'clock on Saturday morning thinking about, oh man, I didn't do that thing. Nah, I don't like when that happens either. But this definitely has helped me to think less about work on the weekend. So I also encourage you to do that. All right, so let's think about these behaviors for just a minute. Starting things each day, or looking at our priorities each day, using tools consistently, creating routines for ourselves and checking progress, breaking things into smaller actionable steps, and reviewing our tasks weekly. So thinking about those, I'm going to start another poll. And what I want you to do is thinking about these behaviors. Which of them are you most interested in developing for yourself or enhancing to become a more organized leader? Which of these is most important to you? Okay, this is interesting. Okay, so we've got, let's start at the bottom. Reviewing your tasks weekly. Okay, so that's the least important. All right, what's next? Using tools consistently, breaking those larger tasks into smaller tasks, and then setting clear priorities at the start of each day. Overwhelmingly, it seems like most of you are setting those consistent routines for checking and updating progress. Awesome, very good. So be mindful of your choice, kind of have a check in with yourself and see how well you're doing that. All right. So we got a little bit of a summary here. So what I want to share with you all is that, like we've talked about today, perceptions are not always reality, but they can affect the performance of your team. So let's be mindful of those things. If we are somebody that struggles with leadership or with organization, be mindful of the ways that disorganization can affect your team. Recall the benefits of organization, especially from a leadership perspective, which is what we're focused on here today. Remember, some of those might be trust, they might be team performance, things like that. Again, my biggest tip ever, use your tools consistently. Whatever you're doing, make sure that it is consistent. And I really want to invite you again to be curious. We have a lot of individuals that have put some different digital tools that they use in the chat. Take a moment and look at some of those. If you don't know what those are, look on the web and see what those are. Get some idea about, hey, maybe that could help me with this project or being more organized about something. Have conversations with your teammates. Maybe that's a conversation you can have. It is the beginning of the year. To have with your team about, hey guys, what's everybody doing from an organization standpoint? What's working well for you? What have your challenges been? So be curious and invite that conversation for your team. And this one is also a big one, which is ask for help. I did mention that, many of us have participated in different personality kind of things that kind of highlight some of us who are more organized and some of us who aren't. And I know for a fact that it's really helpful if I can go to somebody who has a strength that I don't have and say, hey, you know what, I really struggle with that. Can you help me with that? And if you think about that from a leadership perspective, if you're the leader asking for help, that shows humility. That's a really beautiful thing to see in a leader. But also, it's a great team building thing. If I'm asking one of my colleagues, hey, I'm really struggling with this thing, would you mind taking some time and showing me how to do this? I'm trying to find better ways to organize myself. So that could be just an opportunity for team building as well. So I want to take a moment and in the chat, does anyone else have any tips or suggestions that they would like to share with the group? Jane's added she makes a to-do list at the end of the day. What I didn't get done, I go to first thing in the morning. Awesome. Good job, Jane. That's lovely to hear. All right, what other tips do you all have? If you thought about a tool that you didn't add in earlier, you've got some different tips for other people. What have we not talked about today when it comes to organization, especially from a leadership perspective, that you would like to share with this group? So I'll take a minute and see if we've got anything popping up in the chat. So Tara loves Post-it notes, I guess. No, I'm just kidding. That's funny. All right, thanks, Krista. Let me see what Krista's saying with us. She said one other cool thing about Planner is you can use the My Day feature to integrate your tasks into Outlook. She uses that to schedule time in Outlook to work on her tasks. Outstanding. That's such a great idea. That does remind me, one of the things that if you need some dedicated work time, I know one of the things I do with one of the projects I work on for the team is I create focus time on my calendar. So if there's something I really just need to not be bothered and really, really focus on, I'll create those meetings for myself. And for some of the projects, I invite my team to do that as well. So we have some quiet writing time on our team because we do a lot of writing. And so we can just get in a meeting together. I'm there if somebody has questions on the project or whatever, but other than that, it's just quiet time to work. So sometimes it helps to just put meetings on your calendar too, to allow yourself that time not to be disturbed. All right, I'm going to read what Rebecca's written. She says, I like to have a section of my planner about the large goals I'm working toward during the year. then I check that monthly to make sure I'm making progress on those goals and translating to my monthly goals. I really love that you brought that up, Rebecca, because sometimes if we've got something immediate like what I do with my to-do journal, it's really just for the week. But I've got a planner that I use that's for long-term stuff, and I have that broken down into, shorter time frame and distance and whatnot into time. And so I like to revisit that to see if any of that needs to get added as well. So thank you for bringing that up, because it may be that you need another tool for that, for some of those longer term things. A great idea. I have an Outlook calendar only. So we're talking about Joseph, that he's called time boxing. I use it to fill in spaces between meetings with tasks. Outstanding. It also helps me assess if my time estimation for the tasks are correct. That's a really good point, because sometimes you might think, oh man, I just need an hour to get this done. Guess what? Now I got to find 2 more hours now. So yeah, that's a really good, very good tool to be self-aware and check in with yourself. Was that enough time? So great suggestion, Joseph. Goals can also be large projects. Yes, they can be. Yes, they can be, Rebecca. Victoria says, I utilize a habit tracker, one for personal tasks and one for work tasks. I look forward to filling in each square at the end of the day. Oh yeah, Victoria, I will tell you, marking things off, it is so good mentally for your mental health. It's good psychologically, just that physical element of, whether you're doing it digitally or physically, checking things off. Yeah, that's a really good thing for us to do. We need those small wins throughout the day. So yeah, give yourself the small wins. All right, David says, I use a weekly planner that's broken up by the hour. It's a whiteboard, so I do it this way because writing stuff down takes me much less time than typing it up. Outstanding. Yeah, whiteboards are a great way to do things. Some people use whiteboards. Some people will use whiteboards with Post-it notes, like different kinds of things. You've got swim lanes and stuff like that. So again, whatever works for you. So that's great. I love that whiteboards added into this conversation. Okay, so we've got Trenton's adding to here. Helpful to draw it to scale. Something's going to take 2 hours. I need to find 2 hours on the calendar. So he's talking about that time blocking. Okay, so he's looking one calendar, but he marks tasks as free so that they don't block my availability. Good, good. I like that. So yeah, making sure that you're using, sometimes if you have a meet or if you're creating that focus time for yourself, you do want to be busy. You do not want someone to schedule a meeting over that time. But if you're flexible with that time, as mentioned here, you can show that it's free. So it's just kind of a reminder for yourself, hey, my intention is to use that time in this manner, but I'm also available if somebody else needs me. So that's a very self-aware thing to do. Thanks for adding that, Trenton. All right, Mark. Mark's asking a question from Victoria. Okay, hopefully y'all will connect. Victoria, I hope you see that. Mark's asking about the habit tracker you're using. Kenneth says he uses a whiteboard as well on his cubicle windows. Most important items I need to know on each project. Outstanding. Seem like a very organized project manager, Kenneth. I love that. And Lisa's got in here agendas in Word for consistent bi-monthly team meetings. That includes subjects that can wait to discuss with the entire group, so it benefits everyone. Notes are kept for each subject until it's complete and accessible to everyone. Yeah, that's wonderful. One of the things I really appreciate is the ability to collaborate digitally. I mean, remember the days where we had to go to a drive and somebody had to get out of something and tell them I'm out of that thing now, so you can get in it now. I mean, what a hassle. Yeah, we still have to do that probably for some things, but it's so nice, when we have different forms and things, or everybody needs to fill in something, whatever. So yeah, I love collaboration that can happen in real time that we get with our digital tools. I think that's really awesome. So yeah, I've seen a lot of stuff here. We've got whiteboards, we've got digital things, we've got people using planners and journals and different kinds of things, people using Outlook and all kinds of things in super creative ways. So again, be curious if you think you're struggling with something. There's a lot of great ideas in this chat. So thank you all for sharing those with everyone else. And with that, Dean, we are at questions and discussion time. So does anyone have any questions? I believe everyone is muted. So if you do have questions, I do invite you to put those in the chat and we can chat about those for just a minute. Oh, cool. So it looks like Victoria's habit tracker is on Etsy. Oh yeah, Etsy has a lot of really, really cool things from an organization standpoint. If you're looking for different checklists, grocery lists, to-do lists, you're planning vacation. There's so many things in there. So yeah, that's awesome. All right, do we have any questions? Is it possible to have too many tools? All right, Dean, I don't know if you're being silly or not. I think it can be if it is creating more work for you. I think I know that, so like I use Planner and Outlook and Teams or OneNote. I use them all very intentionally. So if you're talking about am I using too many tools? I want you to think about the intention of why you're using that tool. And if you think, yeah, I'm using this tool for the right reason and it really helps me with something, maybe you need a bunch of tools for different things. But if you can consolidate some of those tools, maybe that might make things easier. So that's a good question. Joseph, is there a percentage of time you think is too much to spend on organization? Oh man, I don't even know how to approach that question. So do we have some project managers in here that have PMP certifications? Give me a thumbs up if we've got some. Okay, we have a single human. Okay, well, I'm gonna talk to one of you then. Just kidding. From a project management perspective, one of the things that you talk about is the amount of time you spend ahead of getting into your project that's just about planning. And that is usually about some range of 30%, I think 30 to 40% of your time should be mindfully taking the time to organize everything that you need for that project before you get into it. So Joseph, when I say is there a percentage of amount of time that's too much, I would say this. If you are taking time and you feel like it is a lot of time, but you're getting things done when they need to be finished, it's an organized, and you're doing so in an organized manner. You're not having to revisit things. I would say, even if it is a lot of time, that time is warranted. It's allowing you to be successful in the way that you've planned your project or your day. And I spend a lot of time planning and organizing because I like to sit like with my to-do journal, and it really helps me orient. It helps to orient myself to the week. Most people, I mean, some people could see that as a complete waste of time, but it really helps me. So I also just go back to, if it's working for you, then I would say it's not too much time. If it's creating challenges for you getting things done in your day, then maybe that creates an opportunity for you to kind of revisit and see if you can tweak it. That's a fantastic question. Um, let's see. I know someone who has lots of tasks and helps manage tasks for a group but spends an hour or more a day. Yeah. And think about that. I mean, it depends on your role too. If you're a project manager, depending on the size of your project and the number of projects you've got and the size of your project team, you could spend a lot of time planning and organizing. And that just means that you're probably a really good project manager. So yeah, it can be a lot of time. It truly can be. Let's say Kenneth says, I would say it depends on how you use them. Try and not put the same thing on all your tools. Use them for different things. Love that. So yeah, spread it out to what works for you. Oh, y'all are just being comedians now. Okay. Crystal's added, it depends on personality too. It's beneficial to planner type people. Some spontaneous type of people can get work done on the fly. Yeah, you know what? I'm going to throw that into that. Somebody can totally argue with me, and I'm totally fine with that. Safe space here, non-judgmental. But I am so envious of extroverts because I'm an introvert, and extroverts can just do things on the fly. And I just like, how do you do that? I've got a question, I've got a task, I need to sit down, I need to write it out, I need to plan it out. Okay, these are my steps. How much time is that going to take? I mean, I need to sit there for a bit and process before I can get moving. So yes, thank you for bringing that up, Crystal, because a lot of it does depend on personality. Absolutely. Fail to plan, plan to fail. Exactly. One of those other snippets I got from project management training is if you're going to fail, fail fast. So if you start planning and whatever you planned isn't working, time out, revisit, and revamp. Jane says my work is fast paced, so check off with status info list works well. Yeah. And again, the whole thing is everybody's iterated. You've got to do what works for you. And if you haven't figured that out yet, just give pick a thing, have a conversation with someone, get some ideas, try it out for a few months. If it's not working, try something else. So yeah, this is a time to be curious. You've got lots of different individuals with lots of level of talent and different perceptions that you can talk with to really help you out. If you don't know what you want to use, maybe that's a conversation for like a virtual lunch with your team or something. Hey, let's talk about organization. What tools are you all using? Those kinds of things. Yeah, me either, Krista. I'm not the plan on the fly kind of person either, but I do really admire people that can just get going. That's really awesome. All right, cool. Thank you all so much for all of those comments. Tara's got in here, she has index cards with random tasks all over the place. I'm not sure she's entirely happy about that, so maybe you need to have a chat with someone on your team, Tara. I hope you out with that. Or get a whiteboard. I don't know, that seems to be helpful too. Maybe you can get post-it notes and put them on your whiteboard. Yeah, I'm sure you got someone on your team to help you out with that. All right, well, thank you all for sharing your questions and your insight. I really appreciate you all being open to that today. I know this is not a traditional way to have a webinar, but I really like interactivity with you all. I am not the expert. This is just what I do, and what I do may not work for you. So I really appreciate you all sharing with one another today and adding some humor in that as well. Take a look in the chat. You've seen some people who are really big into some different tools. So if you might want to call them out sometime. Hey, Krista, how do you do that? Just saying, there, the evidence is here in the chat now that you're good at things. So there we go. All right, everyone, thank you so much for your time. Dean, thank you for allowing me to have this leadership hack with you all today. It was delightful, and I look forward to getting more organized in the year. I will move to the